Good afternoon, good evening to our distinguished guests joining us from around the world in that case. I'm seeing the good number of people started joining us on time. So kudos to the people who are right on the spot. Thank you so much for joining on time. And my name is Anshul here, and I'm your host and moderator tonight. It's my absolute pleasure to connect with all this great global community, guys, of experienced project professionals. Welcome to the PMI UAE chapter webinar series. And this is a space where the ideas really meet the actions and the experience meet the inspirations for all of us, right? So my work today is to really get behind the scenes, and I will be joined by colleague Amir and Joyce, ensuring that everything runs fine and seamlessly so that our focus is on learning and engaging. Before we dive in today, I invite you to take a pause for yourself and reflect back to get into the question that what is one project challenge today that keeps you awake at the night? Perhaps tonight's discussion will give you a new lens to see through this particular challenge or the problem, or might be an opportunity, right? So today we are going to explore a topic that speaks directly to the challenges and opportunity we face, we all as a project leaders. And today's topic, of course, is the generative AI for the project managers, and how do we going to master the prompt engineering, which is one of the key skills for the instant artifacts generation for all kind of project people. It is presented by remarkable Nimmy Nemlin, and this session promises just not the insight, but actionable perspectives that we all can take into our projects and leadership roles from that on. In the modern project landscapes, the ability to quickly draft, refine, and automate the creation of the project artifacts is really a critical skill. And I think this session is going to help us to empower all project managers to generate and harness the use of Gen AI through the prompt engineering to dramatically increase our efficiencies and produce our deliverables instantly. That's what our motto is in that way. So as Nimmy is with us, hello Nimmy. I think you are able to see that we are joining us. I think we are still about to reach 73 still now. So we'll get a couple of more minutes for the people to come in. And meanwhile, while Nimmy is going to share her perspective, I encourage all of you to consider how to apply this insight, what we're going to get today, into your next project shift or the results we are going to drive towards. Before we go, there are some housekeeping notes I would like to mention about it. This webinar is going to last somewhere roughly around 70 minutes. We will start with brief introduction of the PMI UAE chapter, followed by the main presentation of our speaker. After the presentation, we will host an interactive Q&A session. So please post all your topic-related questions in the Q&A panel and not the chat. Feel free to share your reflections in the chat, because your reflections are collectively your experience, which enriching the discussions for all of us. And today's participation is going to will fetch you 2 PDUs specifically as a part of your participation into the PMI webinar series. With that, let me begin with a snapshot of the PMI UAE chapter and the volunteers who drive our community forward. Let me allow my share screen here, and then we will go from there. Here you go. Let me make it full screen to make it easy for you to go through that. Perfect. So Project Manager Institute. So I think we all know PMI. Of course, the people who have been in the webinars, they know the PMI, but my duty is to just reflect back to that it was founded in 1969 by the group of working project managers like all of us possibly. And then even now after 50 years, PMI is now still the source and resource for all the various and distinguished things in the project management. It is one of the largest professional association in the world. And of course, give the accreditation and the community offerings and issue global recognized standards and credentials for all of us. The chapter, locally chapter, we are proudly representing UAE chapter, and is the vision to goes with empower and influence the individuals with the innovative project economy principles to turn their ideas into the reality. The mission of the chapter works with to disrupt and create value and the opportunities to all our chapter members and partners to become agile, innovative, and productive in the platform for the growth of project economy. The chapter, some insights about the chapter also give you the glimpse that chapter is 100% run by all the volunteers. It has 4,000 plus active members now, and it is one of the top chapters in the AMA region. With our focus towards leading the industries and trends, we are serving the UAE community, aspiring all the project managers, program managers, and possibly the portfolio and risk managers who are PME certified, and of course, give them the right capabilities and offerings to really believe in the importance of the great profession we are into. We are dependent on all of you to make this activities of the chapters as interactive and invigorating as possible. If you're already the chapter member, we encourage you to participate as much as possible. Our chapter is led by Mr. Adil Sultan as the president, and then rest of the board of directors are leading alongside with him to dedicate their duties in the respective functions. Some member for benefits of the chapter goes like networking, learning, knowledge sharing, career growth, and the events. This particular webinar is the part of diversified event section, which of course we take a proud to really do the number of webinars throughout the year, and of course the great events which you must have seen possibly last in a couple of days. I think it was one great event which was organized in the PMI side of the thing. So the people who made it must have seen already the energy around there, and hopefully are going to get another event very soon now. We have a couple of more particular areas where chapter is really trying to introduce the member spotlight, members corner kind of initiatives. And the idea is to really bring out the best in yourself and to showcase that your visible contribution to the community. If you want to really reflect back, write to us at newsletter at pmiua.org. Of course, there are a lot of things which a chapter does, and specifically, you have all different social media handles with you where you can find the chapter activities going on. Specifically, this webinar series is, of course, getting recorded and getting uploaded to the YouTube channel of the chapter so that you can refer it back down the line. Of course, there are different email addresses. You want to take benefit of them, you can take note of them. But more importantly, if you have any specific questions or inquiry regarding any particular topic or particular issue or the concern, please feel free to reach any one of the chapter members. We will definitely try to help you out as much in our capability and capacity for that level. Coming back, that's about the chapter. I'm seeing that we are almost about to touch 97 we are on. So I hope we will make it 100 very soon. No problem. But even though we don't make it, we are already there almost. And let me introduce our distinguished speaker today. And it's my honor to introduce her, Nimmy Nemlin, and she's a technical program manager at Google in Germany. She brings more than 14 years of experience in the technology industry. Of course, she has worn many hats in the career, from developer to tester to a project manager, product management, and program management. She is a clean ambassador of diversity, inclusion, and women empowerment. So DEI is definitely something in the DNA of Nimi in that way. And then the part of various community, she's supporting all these different objectives as a passion. She's also a very keenly involved in problem solving, technology for good, and building the great teams and mentoring college graduates as well. So I think with all this great stuff which Nimi is trying to help society, community, and even her company, myself, and then I think we have to give a good round of applause for the Nimi as a warm virtual welcome. Nimi, I think we are really keen to learn about prompt engineering, and I believe we have already crossed 100. So that shows us the big siren that we are already in set to go for that. So I hand over the stage to you, and you can share your screen and go ahead, Nimi.
Sure. Thank you so much, Angel, for the warm welcome. It's my pleasure to be here and seeing like all the initiatives you have put together as part of the PMI UAE chapter. I can see it's like such a wonderful, active community. So glad to be here. So I'll share my screen in a minute. Let me know if you can see my screen.
Yeah, it came up. It came up. We can see the first screen over there.
Okay, cool. Then
Yeah.
I guess I can start.
Sure.
Cool. First of all, thanks a lot to the PMI UA chapter for having me. It's such a delight to be a speaker at such an active community. And good afternoon, good evening, good morning to all of you. I don't know, depending on which part of the world you are joining from. I'm so happy to see 100 crossing 100 plus audience already to, yeah. And today I'll be talking about the most transformative skill a project manager can learn right now, that is prompt engineering. And before I deep dive into this topic, I'll be giving a short intro. You might have already heard that from Angel, but I'll again give a short intro about myself and my journey so far before we deep dive into this topic. So moving on to the next slide. So my name is Nimmy Nemlin, and I'm working as a technical program manager at Google Germany. And that's my LinkedIn profile. Feel free to connect over there. And the Twitter profile, I think Joyce has already shared that in the chat. So I have over 15 plus years of experience in software industry, and I did my bachelor's in computer science and engineering. And I'm originally from India, currently living in Munich, Germany for the last 11 years. And outside of work, yeah, as you already said, I love being part of the diversity and inclusion and speaking at different conferences and spending quality time with family and friends. And fun fact, which I always share, usually as part of all my presentations. So I can do the same presentation in 3 different languages, which is German, English, and Malayalam, which is my mother tongue. So moving on to the next slide. So this is my journey so far. I joined as a programmer analyst trainee back in India in Cognizant, and then I moved to programmer analyst, and that's when I got the chance to be a to move into the project management role. So I spent there almost 4 years, and then I moved to Germany in 2014, and then I have got the chance to work as an integration tester and also as test manager and project manager after learning German. So it's very hard here without to survive without knowing German. So I got a bit exposure on that side, and after that I moved to yeah, I took 1 year of maternity leave, and then I joined BMW as an IT specialist and product owner. Working mostly in agile projects, and then in 2022 I moved to Google as a technical program manager. So it's been 15 plus years and counting. So it's a continuous learning process over the course of time. So now we move to the our topic, which is prompt engineering and Gen AI. And before we start, I would like to ask the audience, like, which repetitive work task do you find like the most time consuming in your day-to-day life? You can put it in the chat. I'll have a quick look. I see project plan, project progress report, emails, reports. Okay, filling mini forms. Yeah, good to see so many commonalities in the responses. Okay, great. Okay, thanks for everyone who responded. We will explore about your responses later, because this is one of the main problem which we are trying to solve with Gen AI and prompt engineering today. So before I move into that or your responses, this is what we are trying to cover today. So the part one will be trying to focus on our new superpower as a modern TPGM or the project manager, which is understanding the Gen AI opportunity which we can use in our day-to-day life. And then we will move on to art of prompt engineering. So I'll give a brief explanation about the 4Cs formula, which you can use while giving the right prompt, or how to give the right prompt, and the critical refinement techniques. And in the part three, we will, yeah, I'll show some examples or case studies of how to generate instant artifacts using some prompt engineering techniques. And then part four will cover like the strategic skills and the best practices, and how it aligns with the PMI talent triangle, which is basically the ways of working, because Gen AI is like a powerful accelerator for both methodologies. It can instantly draft user stories, acceptance criteria from interview notes, like summarize. We'll talk about that later in the upcoming slides, but this frees up a lot of yeah, administrative tasks on your side. And also like how we can transform the raw ideas into strategic outlines, and also how we can adapt to the digital more digitally into the digital adaptability phase. So all this will be covered, and finally we will end with your question and answer session and the key takeaways. What you get. I hope you will get some key takeaways from this session today, and hope you will be able to apply those in your day-to-day life. So we started with the question of what is the most repetitive, time-consuming task which you face, and I see so many responses which basically tailor down to documentation side. So based on research, like as PMs, 30 to 40% or even 50% of our time is spent on drafting, documenting, and updating artifacts. It's mostly administrative tasks, and this takes up most of our time. And this is a tax on our strategic work, and the time sink is holding us back. So what is the solution for this? That is where we are talking about Gen AI today. So this is like the new accelerator, and with this we can actually transform our ambiguous ideas into actionable high quality project artifacts instantly. I know I'm talking about Gen AI a lot, and maybe you are from different backgrounds, and that's why I just added this slide shortly before to talk about what exactly is Gen AI for those who are not aware of it. So Gen AI, basically you can consider it like a, in a simple terms, like a powerful content creation and drafting tool for those who want to understand it in a very layman's perspective. So Gen AI generates new text, audio, images, or code based on the content it has been pre-trained on. There are like they will have like various models that will be pre-trained, and it generates. So a generative model can take what it has learned from examples it has been shown and create something entirely new based on that information. And that's why we use the word generative. And the LLMs, or the large language model, are one type of generative AIs, and we can generate a lot of images or text or documentation instantly with this. And prompt engineering transforms the ideas into the action. We'll talk about that in the next slide. So now we talked about what's the major problem which we are trying to solve as project managers. It's mostly documentation that, or the administrative tasks that takes up most of our time as a project manager. So now let's move from the problem to the solution. So the core concept which I would like to introduce here is the prompt discipline and the prompt engineering. So that is basically how can I explain? That's like the strategic process of crafting the queries or prompts that guide the AI to provide like specific, valuable, and contextual relevant responses. So basically, it is like the discipline of structuring your input to guarantee like high quality relevant outputs. And it's not about how clever you are with the keywords. It's like the structural methodology of how you are interacting with AI. I can give an example. Think of it as this way. AI model is like a brilliant, powerful intern in your company. And if you give a vague request to your intern, like, okay, give me some risk, you're going to get a vague, useless output from him or her, whoever that is, even though he's brilliant, because he or the intern doesn't have the right structured request. So if you give like a precise structured request following our discipline, you get like a more formatted, actionable artifact. So what we are trying to do is we are converting an ambiguous thought into a more concrete, measurable outcome. And that is exactly like the prompt discipline which we have to follow, and why it matters as a project manager, and why should we adopting this new discipline. Because these are the things which I see like the major why benefits for the PMs, because like the immediate transformation, it instantly converts like the ambiguous open-ended request into actionable project artifacts, and saving you from the time like of costing of manual drafting, spending hours creating like the communications plan or the scope outline or the meeting notes. So that is basically immediate transformation on that regard. And then the other side, the other point which I would like to focus is on eliminating the bottleneck. That is basically, as we already discussed, that the 30 to 40% time sink, which we just saw in based on the research, it eliminates the time consuming documentation and drafting bottleneck. So, and that saves like significant portion of your week. At least for me, it is super helpful as a TPGM at Google with all the Gemini integrated Google Docs. I'll show some examples later in the later part of the presentation. And lastly, you can focus on value, because as the project managers, uh, it helps you to focus on decision making and stakeholder engagement and not on administrative tasks, and this maximizes your strategic leadership and liberates your time to exactly do that. So uh, yeah, so this is in short like what exactly is prompt and prompt discipline. So prompt is just a fancy way of saying that the text that you feed to the model, and prompt design is the art of asking the right questions or prompt to shape the output from the LLM or the AI model. So I hope you understood what is prompt and prompt design, which you have to follow. And now we have established prompt design is the discipline. And now I would like you to introduce you to the blueprint for executing that discipline. These are like the 6 ingredients of a great prompt. So think of this not as a checklist for every prompt, but as a dial board. The more dial you turns up, the more specific and high quality your output will be. You don't need to have all 6 every time, but understanding these elements is the difference of getting like a draft you have to rebuild entirely, or getting a draft that is like 90% complete and like the 5% manual effort that is needed for the final polish. So now let's focus on these items which I have listed here. The first one is persona, the role. So you must tell the AI who to be. This is how you elevate the expertise. Instead of write a risk list, you ask them like act as a senior risk analyst with 15 plus years of experience in system migration. And this instruction, which is more specific, instantly shifts the tone and depth of the risk that model is going to generate. So this is the first one, persona, which is very important. And the next one is the task or the instruction. So this is like a very, the most critical element, I would say. It is what and the how. It's not just write a summary, but rather we can say something like draft a communication plan outline, ensuring that all the points align with the project goals listed in the context. So the more specific the verb and the required actions, the better the result would be. And the third point is the context. So which is basically providing more context or background. So AI can't work in vacuum, just like humans. So the context give it its relevance. This defines like the project phase, the technology stack, or the specific challenge. For example, I can say the project is in execution phase or planning phase with high budget variance and significant stakeholder tensions or anxiety. So, and this immediately constrains the AI's response to be highly relevant. And the fourth one is exemplar or example. So this is like the advanced technique, and basically you can also help the model generate better results. So if you have like a perfectly formatted artifact from a previous project which you have already used, for example like the gold standard which you are always using, you can feed that example into the AI and explicitly instruct that, okay, follow this format exactly. And this is like the strongest way to ensure that the AI is following that corporate or project specific standards. And it is all, you are basically training the model to give better results based on that. And the fifth point is the fifth ingredient is the format, the structure. This is essential for, as you know, like creating actionable artifacts. Like if I want the results in tables and not paragraph, we can specify that respond in a table format with 5 columns, like the risk, the probability in low, medium, high, the impact, mitigation actions. So giving more specific details. And the tone and the style, this is one thing which I often use in communication or writing emails, because usually when we are like super exhausted, our tone would be something different. And this is where but this is also like the fine tuning or polishing side of ingredient, which I would say this controls the voice, which is basically can be used for comms or communications. So if you are drafting like an executive summary, you need to specify something like use a more formal, concise, executive level tone with no technical jargons or acronyms. So something like that. So if you are drafting like an internal email, you can specify like use a more encouraging tone for your teams. So this is like the structured blueprint. So these are the main ingredients which you should actually use for writing a great prompt. So when you ensure that you have covered the mandatory code, like telling the AI what to do, who to be, and what context to use, y- and also layer on with the format you need, and then you basically stop getting vague text, the vague output back. So this is like the 6 ingredients. But in the next slide, I have actually group this to the 4 C's prompt formula for PMs, because the other one is basically, so this one is distilling into the actionable 4 C's formula for PMs in a more standardized way. This basically covers all the ingredients from the other one. The 6 ingredients is like a comprehensive blueprint or the dial board which you can use. The 4 C's formula is like a streamlined practical framework for project managers, distilling like the most critical and mandatory elements for generating immediate artifacts. And this basically groups all the 6 ingredients which we have already covered, but this one is more easy to remember. And it's like, yeah, this is, I always remember it with the 4 C's essentially when I write a prompt. Like context is defining the project scenario, which we already discussed, and the character or role is like defining, okay, as a senior risk analyst, something like that, defining the role. And the constraint and the format, which we already talked about, and the clarity and the goal, what would you like to achieve. So now we are moving on. Yeah, this is like a very critical step which I would like to explore with you, because we have spent the last few minutes talking about how to build the perfect prompt blueprint. But let's be realistic. The first output which the AI is going to give you, even if it's the best prompt, it's rarely 100% correct. And this is like a very critical point we must internalize. If you take the first output and then stop, you are failing to maximize the power of Gen AI. Because the real power and the single most valuable digital skill for a modern project manager is prompt iteration, which is the main key. Because mastering Gen AI isn't about writing one perfect prompt, it's about writing 2, 3, or 4 rapid fire prompts to quickly refine and perfect the artifact. And this is also as part of our PMI triangle, like the digital adaptability side, where we move to more towards that. It basically means adjusting your input based on AI's output to drive continuous improvement. Just like think of this like an agile loop for documentation. You're not waiting for a week for feedback from multiple stakeholders, but rather the key benefit here is speed. You can perfect an artifact in minutes instead of days of manual review waiting for people to review that. And it's basically the process itself is simple. In the first one, the initial draft, we use the 4 C's of the solid foundation, which we already talked about. We run the first command, the first prompt, complete the context, character, constraint, and clarity. And this gives us the structure and the core data instantly. And the output is already like a strong draft, but the next one is refining that output and basically refining the tone, style, and adding the constraints and details. And this is where we as project managers use the iterative prompt to target specific elements, like need a voice change, refine the tone and style, for example, make the sound for more formal or executive level, and remove all the acronyms, which is the example which we already talked about. Or we can add something like the constraint or detail, which is adding a column with the status red, amber, or green to that table. And so basically, we are treating the AI's previous output as the new context for the next command. And this basically helps with the most crucial step that remains within the PM, because AI is not trying to replace our job as a project manager, but it is basically accelerating our productivity. And once the AI has taken the artifact to 95% completion based on this ingredients and the 4 C's we already discussed, the PM applies the last 5% human effort to check for specific project realities, the ethical consideration using responsible AI, and any company specific or regulatory language the AI couldn't know. So this is like the 5%, and this saves a lot of your administrative tasks. So prompt iteration is actually very important and defines like the difference between a PM who uses an AI and PM whom actually masters it based on the prompt iteration and training the model continuously. So this step is very important, and this secures a lot of our time for strategic leadership, focusing on this one. And we just need to spend like 5% of time, and 95% of our time is already saved with AI tools. And this is like based on my personal experience, because one of the questions that often asked is like, is prompting like a skill that all can learn? Yes, prompting is a skill we all can learn. You don't have to be a prompt engineer or to use generative AI. However, we need to try different approaches for your prompt if you don't get your desired outcome for the first time, which we already discussed in the last slide. So these are some, since I'm working at Google, I always use Gemini. And some quick tips. So be specific and iterate for better results. Use natural language as if you are talking to a person, and keep your requests concise, avoiding complex jargons. Refine the output using follow-up conversation prompt, which the iteration part, which is very important. And usually I try to integrate all the information from all my Google Drive documents to make sure that I haven't missed anything. Doing my side as a PM to make sure that AI basically providing more context, and AI can do the work. So generative AI is basically to help humans, but to generate better output which you can use. And I have like a prompt guide which I'll be sharing later, and which you can use in your day-to-day activities. And this is basically a prompt guide which I generally use as a PM or a TPGM. I'll share how to get that later. And now we move on to we have now talked about the discipline. Now let's talk about turning theory into like instant tangible results. How to do that? So risk register is one of the most high valuable, most time consuming artifact in most of the projects APM creates. And this one shows like, look at the prompt on the slide on the left hand side. This is like a perfect example of applying our discipline which we learned. So the persona or the character, we start by setting the expertise as a senior risk manager. So this is crucial. It directs the AI to leverage high level domain knowledge, not just a general, yeah, language model also. So this is, first we create like, this is the persona, and then we come to the context. We feed the relevant background given this project charter. So this part, this tells the AIs the project goals, scope, and environment, making sure that the generated results are specific to the project. So we are applying like the persona context. And next we follow the task, the constraints, the C's, the constraint or format. So we combine like generate a comprehensive risk register in a table format, and this is what I need. And we are not just asking for a list, we are demanding like a structured, sortable, and ready to review table. And this makes your life easier. And the last C, that is the clarity or goal. And we specify the output detail, like, okay, I want that like the risk description or the probability, the impact, and the mitigation actions. So this dramatically reduces our time in our initial drafting. So these are like the immediate outcome which I see in as an benefit for the project managers. Like this eliminates like the usually I sit in a blank page and I have this blank page syndrome, like, okay, where do I start and how do I start? And this saves like multiple hours of manual consultation effort that is actually required in getting started with a document. And also enhancing the quality by leveraging the AI's aggregated knowledge base for common risk. So we already give the context, the senior risk manager persona, and so the AI can have the proper context, and it can prompt the risk we may have overlooked as humans, ensuring that a more comprehensive draft that we could have created as a human. And the third one, which I see as an immediate outcome, is providing high quality starting point for team review and refinement, because the output is not like a finished product as always, but a 90% complete, perfect formatted draft. So you can immediately take this to our team or stakeholders, and we that saves a lot of your time, and focusing on the high strategic decision making. So basically you are maximizing your value to your project by focusing on decision making and not spending a lot of time on documentation, which I already saw when I asked the question initially to the audience. And the second case study is the yeah now we see how to actually create like a risk register with the right prompt engineering discipline. And now let's look at the next one, the cornerstone of any project, that is the scope document. So the challenge with scope isn't just writing it, it's also defining it clearly and preventing the scope creep from day one, which is like a major challenge. And this slide basically shows like a matrix of the AI drafted and the manual draft, how we can save the like you can see the metrics here, like the time to draft for AI, it's like 5 minutes, and if it's for manual effort, it's going to be more than 2 hours. And the completeness score, you can get it done 85% complete by an AI or generative AI, whereas for manual draft it's going to be 75% complete, and then again you have to spend a lot of hours refining that. And you might have missed by following the 4 C's, you can with the AI generated response, you can cover, like, make sure that all the key sessions are covered, whereas with manual draft you're going to miss a lot of sessions, which is usually what happened. Like uh, I try to upload all the meeting notes and all the documents in for the projects which I work, and it basically instantly creates like artifacts. I can show that as well. So basically, the accelerated gain which you get is more than 95% of time is saved on drafting all this documentation, which is like yeah, a major bottleneck for us as PMs. Moving on to the next one, which is like the communication plan outline. So the prompt example here, which I have shown here, is you are the project comms lead, draft a communication plan outline for a large internal software deployment project, include sessions for audience, medium, frequency, and honor. Pay special attention to the executive sponsor. So this shows how to generate like a communication plan outline instantly, and this defines the character as the project comms communications lead for expertise. And we have also used the constraint to enforce mandatory sessions like audience, medium, and the frequency. And the special instruction, like to pay special attention to executive sponsors, drive like the key context or the content. And this approaches basically bypass the documentation bottleneck, and this saves a lot of your time to focus on high strategic leadership tasks. Yeah, coming down to the strategic skill and data driven PM. So this slide, what I would like to focus is on how generative AI transforms the project managers into data driven leaders by leveraging AI for advanced analysis. So the central concept which I'm trying to explain here is prompting transforms all the raw data into executive ready insights, which I often use a lot of times for my newsletters, sending execs all the reports. So the key applications here is the performance reporting. For example, the Gen AI can instantly summarize the complex data or reports into concise narrative summaries. And before, I used to take at least 2-3 days trying to summarize all the meeting notes and everything to have like a exec ready report. But this actually saves a lot of time on that manual drafting and ensuring the project health is communicated clearly to the stakeholders, which is very important as a TPGM or as a project manager. And the sentiment analysis, which you see here, the PMs can use Gen AI to analyze unstructured data like the stakeholder feedback or the survey responses, which I usually ask after a retrospective or after a training, or the meeting transcripts. This creates like the key concerns, or right after your 2 weeks vacation. And this is like a major game changer for me, and to allowing for quick issue resolution and alignment between the stakeholders as a project manager. And the next one is prediction and forecasting by using structured prompt using the 4 C's with raw project data. PMs can actually derive like high quality or high level forecast and predictions. Okay, and this actually helps in risk management and strategic uh, decisions which you're going to take, and also this helps you anticipate like the potential issues before it becomes super critical for your project. So these are like some of the key strategic skills, or how Gen AI can actually help you in your day-to-day work. And then PMI ways of working. So this actually explains how Gen AI serves as a powerful accelerator for project managers across both agile and predictive methodologies, like by automating the, for example, right from, as I already said, like the creation of user stories, drafting user stories and acceptance criteria from raw inputs like the notes, or summarizing retrospective notes, which I often use, into actionable prioritized improvements or action items and assigning it to honors. Um, this has been like a huge transformative improvement for on my side, and could also be for you as well by properly following the prompt engineering or prompt discipline, and generating multiple options for example like sprint planning. All this can be used with Gen AI. And also, like if it is for predictive or hybrid artifacts, like creating the structured work breakdown structure, and drafting like the initial plans like task dependencies based on the scope. All this, there are like, there is actually a prompt guide which I often use based on, and also training the data model based on that, and providing the, okay, this is the actual result, what is and each time it shows like improved result based on what I'm inputting to that. So this is like one of the major game changer for me as a PM. Okay, I think we already covered this. So yeah, so coming to the this was one of the agenda which I added, like the PMI business acumen or the strategic alignment, but we have covered most of this in our last slides, like how Gen AI can rapidly generate outlines for transformative roadmaps and strategic alignment documentation, and also the business analysis, the market awareness. For example, I use this a lot. I work in Android Auto, and I use prompt like the AI to quickly summarize like the what are like the competitive landscape or industry trends that actually going on at the moment, and this gives me a summary using I use use this with Gemini, and this actually helps me a lot. And some of the areas which I use are like based on, for example, one of the prompt which I use is like, okay, based on the uploaded project reports, the roadmaps and the meeting notes, generate like a concise executive level status update, which I often use, and highlighting like the key achievements, the potential roadblocks, and whom to assign this. All these are like the different prompts which you can actually use to have like a strategic alignment with your stakeholders. Okay, I can maybe show you an example. uh, I need to see, going back, new share. Okay, I think I'll show that after my presentation, because I'm so used to working with Gmeet and Zoom. I'm trying to see how to use that. Okay, moving back to the slides. Okay, so moving to the next slide. So we have seen how generative AI saves us time on documentation, but its greatest
Hello,
value.
Nimmy. We
Yes.
cannot see your slide yet.
Oh,
Give
you
me a
cannot see
minute.
my slide?
Yeah, give me a minute. I'm just checking if somebody else is also, or it's me.
So were you not seeing that before as
No,
well?
no, I was saying, yeah, now it came. Now it came. It's
Okay,
fine.
cool.
Yeah, it's fine.
Okay, cool. Great.
Thanks.
Which slide are you seeing right at the
I'm seeing
moment?
the adaptability, innovation mindset, and critical thinking. 3 points, power skill.
Okay, cool. Okay, great. I think I have to move on to one slide before. So the PMI power skills, the digital edge. So far we have now seen like the generative AI saves us time on documentation, but its greatest value isn't replacing the task. It's as I said, it's accelerating our productivity, and this is like the PMI super skills, and that's how we are adopting to this new discipline. Like the prompt engineering gives us like a true digital edge. This is about securing our strategic position, because just give me a second. Sorry for that. Okay, now I'm back. Okay, so these are like the most important skills, or the PMI power skills, which we can like the adaptability, the innovation mindset, and the critical thinking. And so the most important skill which I would say is the critical thinking. Why? Because AI is like a draft engine, and the we as project managers are like the critical editor. Like the AI can do 80% or 90% of your work, which is like the draft, but you still have to question the output. Never accept a risk register or a communication plan without your final analysis. And you must apply your project specific knowledge and your like the ethical consideration or the company organizational policies, and we need the final human judgment to verify AI's assumption. And actually prompting for because very often we think, or this is one of the question that is often asked, how is AI going to replace our job? But prompting actually, or with prompt engineering, actually forces us to think critically. Like we think about like the desired outcome before we even begin. Like you can just ask like a vague question. You must critically define like the 4 C's, which we already discussed, like the context, character, constraint, and clarity, which we already discussed. And this pre-analysis ensures that you are guiding or training the model in such a way that we get the best solution. So this is actually some of the key areas we the Gen AI can actually helps us. And I think I already discussed adaptability, because the prompt iteration or adjusting the prompt based on AI's first response, and making sure that it's we are constantly training or adjusting the input and improving the result in real time. This is actually making sure we are adapting with the making it like more formal, or present this as a table, which we already discussed. So this actually allows you to drive continuous improvement in your artifacts in minutes, and not like hours, in days or weeks of manual effort that is actually required. And the innovation mindset, which is adapting and mastering Gen AI, is like a critical component of as PMs in the new era, to have like a digital growth mindset. Because we, as a new modern PM, we are willing to learn a new and skill, or to fundamentally transform your role or your project's performance. And this is very critical in the new era. And also, as I said, like, the PMs who master AI will replace the one who doesn't, but the AI is not going to replace the PM. So this is my thinking. Moving on to the next one. So these are some of the common key pitfalls to avoid. So please remember this GIGO, that is garbage in, garbage out, because please don't rely on vague input, because vague input is leading to vague outputs. And the AI hallucination, this is something which we discussed in the last slide, because AI can often, please consider this like a draft machine or the draft editor, but the final human judgment has to come from you. And please don't accept outputs without like the final human judgment or validation from your side. And the last pitfall to avoid is over reliance, because not applying human judgment or ethical consideration, because in some companies you have to follow your company policies to make sure that you are using AI responsibly. And also, best practice, never put sensitive confidential information into public AI. And this is very important to actually make sure that you are using it in an ethical and responsible way. So some of the key takeaways which I have to which you can actually take is: prompt engineering is the most valuable digital skill for PMs today. And the 4 C's formula, which we already discussed, this ensures you get the high quality standardized output. And Gen AI actually liberates your time for strategic leadership and project success, rather than focusing most of your time on administrative tasks. So, as I said, this is like the modern mantra for PM. So, AI won't replace the project manager, but the PM who masters AI will replace the one who doesn't. So, this is like the modern PM mantra which you have to learn. So with that, mastering prompt engineering is like the digital skills that drives instant value for you as a project manager. And with that, I would like to end my presentation. That what are your best practices or ideas for using AI to improve efficiency in your daily work? And with this, I'll pause here and take up the questions, and I can show you some examples of how I'm using AI, and some of the prompt guide and prompts which I'll share later. I can share in chat, like, where you can actually contact me or get in touch for the prompt guide. I can share it here in the chat, or you can also contact me via LinkedIn, so that I can share like the list of prompt guide which you can actually use in your day-to-day work as a PM, to create instant artifacts, or some of the basic examples, like summarizing the meeting notes or prompts for that. Okay, I think with that, we are almost the end of the presentation. And now I'm ready to take up the questions from your side.
Great. Thank you, Nimmy. We are really on time there. So thank you for being a very prompt project manager from the time management perspective. Uh,
Thanks, Ancha.
Yeah, I think the share is what you have shared is, of course, you covered the basics that showed your inclusivity, because you started with what is Gen AI, because some people even sometimes don't know and get confused with so many uh, different kind of jargons around it. So you showed that particular competency with your first slide, and then you really took us through the lot of examples from the perspective of what it can really align from the PM perspective, from PMI standard perspective, strategic thinking's perspective, and basically you concluded with the important slide, which I would say is very, very important and crucial, the pitfalls. I think that's where it really culminates well, because I see that a lot of questions are there. I'm going to ask them, but yeah, the hallucination, human in the loop review around that, and of course, don't put any kind of sensitive data. Be ethical from the perspective of what you're sharing with the LLMs, large language models, and what your company allows you. Because as far as when we use these tools in the personal capacity, is fair enough. But when you start going crossing the boundaries of personal versus professional life, that's where the real tricks start happening around, because then there are stakes arises, and then more importantly, we have built up that habit of just putting everything out there, and then we start taking everything back there, and we forget about refinement and hallucinations at times. So great
Sure.
information. Let me
Thank you so much,
paraphrase.
and thank you for having me. And now let's move on
Yeah,
to the
the
questions.
questions. So the questions, let me see, what are they? So one is, of course, about the hallucination. I think the person is asking about the hallucination is that because we're not going to have the all the data about our projects, Hema is asking that question specifically to voice out the name. So she want to understand that how we as a project manager should trust or build that confidence that the generative AI is putting and giving us the output without hallucinating, because LLM will not have everything what the project is entailing. So how to get into this situation and how to avoid this problem.
Yeah, thanks, Hema, for such a wonderful question. This is like a very relevant question, and this is like a very tricky one because we never know, like if we can trust what the AI is actually giving us. And usually, whatever projects which we are dealing with is very ambiguous one, and we often doesn't know like the whole details about what we are dealing with, and that's why it's like we shouldn't be falling into this pitfall of like 100%. We shouldn't be always trusting what the first draft is actually giving us. So I would actually, my advice here is to, I don't have like a 100% perfect answer, but what can actually help is like follow these 4 C's, giving whatever context we have, like the context, clarity, the character, and the what was the next one, the context, character, constraint, and clarity. These 4 C's give whatever information which we have with respect to the project, and based on that, at least with the first draft, we don't trust that output blindly, but have like this iterative prompting. So this is where the trick lies, or like how we can master the art of having like better input. For example, I can show like how I am doing it for one of the newsletters that was often taking like a lot of time. I hope I have it open here. Let me see if there are like some critical information. I won't be able to share that. I'm just checking that. But what I okay, just checking. Uh, Okay, I don't have that right now, but what I'm actually doing is that I do have a prompt which I use for getting the newsletter or concise executive reporting. But based on each output, like what the Gemini is giving me, I give like, okay, this is the actual result that came out of it, and basically I help train the model to have like a better input next time. And this is actually helping me to make sure that okay, this is generating a better input next time. But at least from my perspective, we still need to have some level of human judgment, and project management is overall like a soft science which that cannot be replaced by AI, and we need to have our own human judgment. And AI cannot come and understand the tensions which the the steering committee or the stakeholders are dealing with, and this is something we have to apply our human judgment to the 80% um, draft which the AI is actually giving us. So it's like a mix of, we cannot trust the AI blindly or generate AI, but it's like making sure that that whatever 4 C's which we have provided, and to have apply our human judgment and using the iteration prompt to making it better each time. I hope
Thank
that
you.
answers the question.
Yeah, indeed. So great. I think some person is already responding in the chat as another workaround is that go and ask the resources and references. from where this response is coming from, go and validate that and check
Yeah.
whether your content and context match to those references somehow or not. So thank you so much for
Yeah,
that.
that's like a great catch. Yeah.
Yeah,
It's actually
thank
a
you.
very good input as well.
Now, Ahmad is asking something about the capabilities of the today's modern day AI tools. He is asking us that do we really at that position where these AI tools in the market today are quite having that potential to forecast and to understand the opportunities, generate the legit roadmaps about the gaps, understanding the market, and giving those opportunities a kind of roadmap to do the things better. It can be from the project perspective, context perspective, or product perspective. It can be, it's a vague question, but the ultimate underline is what we need to underscore is that do we have those kind of tools already available and are they working to the way we want them?
So if I understand the question correctly, so the person who asked is asking like if we have the right tools available to create like the roadmaps and things which are
And
needed.
do these tools have the capability of anticipating the future potential prospect, for example,
Okay.
in sales, for example?
Yeah. Of course, I mean, from what I have seen so far, that's why we always train the models. And uh, two 2 months back, when I was using Gemini for some of the input, I could already see that okay, I needed like a lot of human judgment needed to be applied for that. But now I see by the moment we are talking, things are changing. They are training the model, so it is rapidly evolving, and every time with a new model, it has like a huge transformative improvement in how they are training the models. And I see there is like a lot of capability. I can quickly share my screen in some of the ways which I use. uh, yeah, maybe this is just a simple example for us. This is like a Google Doc which you can see in one of the trainings. And I before, how I used to do is that for the meeting notes, I was writing down that manually, but right now it is already embedded and Gemini is taking notes, and this is like a meeting note that is generated by Gemini, and it gives the summary, the details, the key steps, and the next steps that is actually needed. And here I can also ask Gemini like, okay, if I don't have the time, what are like the top things using the provided meeting transcripts and notes, summarize the key decisions made, the action items with respect to honors and deadlines, and any significant blockers identified, and organize the output into a clear bullet points, and this gives me the result. uh, so personally, I feel this has been like a huge transformation in saving the time of project managers. And I can quickly show another example. So this is like an AI flow which I'm using to here you see a knowledge library where I generate where I upload documents, all the documents that are needed this is like the program review, this is like the meeting notes, this is the style guide to be followed. And based on this, if I click here and test agent, it generates me the newsletter, and I don't have to do anything for generating this manually, and this saves a lot of my time. And same goes with the roadmap. I cannot show you like a specific example at the moment because it has sensitive data, but I see that it has like a lot of capability, the modern Gen AI tools. And you should definitely try with the 4Cs and prompt engineering, and it's going to save your time. Yeah.
Great, great. Thank you for showcasing those examples, Nimi. Those are quite a bit interesting. Now, let's talk about another one, which is coming from, again, the perspective of you have showed the Gemini or as an
Mhm.
example. Is there any other tool as well you would like to share? Because you connect everything to, because you're in Google, of course, I get that. You are using Gemini.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And I'm not allowed to use
Use anything
ChatGPT.
else? Of course, you should
I
not
mean,
be.
it's not that I'm not allowed to use, but of course, when I'm working here, I should definitely training Gemini and use the models to refine that. And I cannot put any company sensitive information there. So that's why I'm like, okay, I'm
How do
more
you
well versed.
how do you connect your reports or your artifacts? Somebody's asking this question, okay? For
Mhm.
example, a report, EVM report or variance report in your project. How do you connect this report to give it to the Gemini? And from based on that, Gemini is giving you that. So somebody's asking if you can show, if you have any
Okay.
example.
Yeah. For Based on my experience, we have Gemini integrated in almost all our workflows. For example, the Google Docs or Google Sheet, the Gmail, the meeting notes. So whenever we
Mhm.
attend a meeting and everything, it's already captured by Gemini. So it's much more easier for me as a TPGM here to actually, okay, give me like the top three key takeaways from this and generate and so and so, because it's already integrated. And this is what I said, like you have to be mindful of the data which you are inputting to your for example, if chat gpt is something, you have to be mindful that you are not putting the company sensitive information onto that, and make sure that it is safeguarded and approved by your company to whichever AI tools which you are using. But apart from all this, apart from all which gen AI tools which you are using, the prompt design is the key. And there is like, it's all about how well you craft that prompt.
Yeah, indeed. So that is the real magic happens
Yeah,
around there.
exactly.
You have
If
then
you give like
Gemini.
vague data,
Sorry.
you get vague output. That's it. And if you give like all the key following all the ingredients of that right prompt, you're going to get the right. That's
Yeah.
like the major key.
Yeah, just to summarize on that front, again, all the generative AI tools have the capabilities to upload the documents in them now. And apparently in Gemini or use Claude or any other document, Gen AI tool, you can attach these reports, provided, of course, a company allows you,
Yeah,
and it's
exactly.
quite ethical. Then you can get these reports updated or attached to the prompt. And
Yes,
from there, upload and write your prompt about this document to look at it, and then can generate whatever you require by collecting all the information from there.
exactly. So this is like using AI in a responsible and ethical way as
Right.
humans. Yeah.
Uh, Another one, Mohammed is asking how Gen AI prompt engineering will assist in resolving uncertainty during the project implementation.
Uncertainties. That's a very good question. So, I mean, the whole PM, this is where like we also need to work as a apply the human judgment as well. But of course, Gen AI can, of course, help you with like, okay, what depending on this scenario, context, and character, what are like we can ask them to predict like what is that I'm going to anticipate, or what are like the uncertainties which I'm going to get. So you will get some clue which you as humans may not think. So you can actually use gen ai to get like, okay, this is some of the risk and mitigations, or some of the uncertainties which you may face depending on this scenario, as providing the right character, role, context, and everything. So this is something which you can get out of gen ai. But still, I would say that you as a pm need to apply. Gen AI cannot come and sit in your steering committee meetings and understand the tension of stakeholders. So this is where you have to apply your soft skill to understand the stakeholder dynamics and understand the uncertainties and apply human judgment.
Yeah, so you cannot keep yourself out and away from the
Yeah,
work.
no.
Yeah,
AI
so
is not going to replace the
yeah.
human. It's because it all comes down to actually the human relationship as well when it and managing the organizational politics when you as a PM. So this is also very important, and uncertainty comes a lot in the stakeholder management
Indeed,
part,
indeed.
as far as I have seen. So this is one of the major key role which you have to play as a pm, even though you can rely on ai to get like, okay, what are like the top risk which I'm going to face, or the uncertainties which I'm going to face based on this scenario. You will get the output, but still you have to apply your human skills and soft science of because yeah, this is still needed.
One connected question, and I would say it would be interesting during the tag what we're going through. Wasim is asking that in the cost estimation of the projects. So he has
Yeah.
tried Gen AI,
Hmm.
okay, and he is very disappointed, okay, from the reality. That so no matter how many times the iteration he has tried it out, from the
Okay.
prompt from prompt refining, but of course he is not happy. Any advice?
uh, Good. I would like to understand which gen AI model you would.
You can just take for the matter of the fact Chat GPT. I'm just
Okay.
making your life
No,
easy,
no, no.
nothing more than that.
I'm just curious, like, uh, and also would like to understand because, as I said, the Gen AI is constantly evolving. Like the moment which we are, like, we are talking, it's like they are training the models, and it's still evolving. Um, so, because this requires bit of research on why he was not happy with the result which Gen AI, why the cost estimation was like there is a huge discrepancy based on like the manual. Maybe we should try the prompt engineering discipline which we have just, or if he was trying the right prompt engineering discipline, I don't know. But yeah, this is something which I'm unable to answer at the moment because I don't have the full context of what was the
Yeah.
prompt that was given, or if he was following the right prompt engineering discipline to get the right output. Because the moment we try to follow all the 6 ingredients which we already discussed in our presentation today, it should actually give like a better output. And it also depends on the model which you are using. For
Yes.
example, in the
Yes.
old models, even I was like very disappointed with some of the outputs, but right now I'm super happy with the outputs which I get, because it has improved a lot, and every day it is improving. And the engineers who are working on this, they are improving the model on a day-to-day basis. And I would really request, I think Wasim is the one who asked, or who,
Yes. Yes. Wasim.
Wasim, to actually follow the right prompt discipline and try it again, and let's talk. You can connect with me in LinkedIn, and let's see if the cost
Okay.
estimation has become better, or we can try like a different prompt for that. I can help you with that.
Thank you. I think we are running short of the time now. I think you already shared your LinkedIn ID. Of course, people are asking about the prompt list. Would you
Yes,
be
sure.
sharing that?
So I just shared like getting in touch. Yeah, they can actually fill out this list so that what exactly they need. So this is where they can actually contact me, or also
Okay.
in LinkedIn, and I can share or I can share once they contact me and getting, yeah.
Okay. No
Sure,
problem.
I can share the prompt guide, the
Yeah.
common prompt which I use, and let's see if that also have like the cost estimation part.
Okay, so I think you've been so great, and basically you've been so helpful, Nimi. So you already shared your link for the people to get in touch with you in that matter. So people who look for the slides of this one or the prompt list or any kind of other queries, please feel free to get in touch with her. And I think
Sure.
it was a great session. I think we are going to conclude today's session. Now I want to thank to you, Nimi, and every participant who joined
Thank
from
you so
across the
much for
globe.
having me. Yeah.
Yeah, and
And
our
thanks for it's
volunteers.
great to see like so many participants and be part of such a active community PMI UA chapter.
We
Thank you
are,
for having
we
me.
are, we are active ones. And of course, our volunteers who make this webinar possible, special recognition goes to the teams in membership, outreach, volunteering, finance, and our marketing colleagues. And basically, who really ensure that the PMI chapter insights reach to our global community. So remember, leadership isn't about just executing this task, but it's all about inspiring people, navigating complexity, and leaving a legacy with the impact. With that, this is Anshul Chaubey taking your leave today, along with Nimi and the rest of the PMI team. Take care of you. God bless. Take care. Bye.
Thank you.